Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Hi, good afternoon. We're starting the Tree Advisory Committee meeting. It's January 9th, 2025, and the time is, where'd it go?
4:05.
4:05. Right. All right, first item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
I might just have two tiny little corrections.
All right, sure.
Under number 5,
Okay.
I think the Inflation Reduction Act Urban Forestry Grant, I would just put a period there because you already said funded by.
Okay.
And then I think you meant in the next sentence, the project includes.
Oh, yes, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you very much, Sue. I will get those changed.
Yeah, so I would move approval of the minutes as corrected.
Thank you. Second?
All in favor of approving our minutes from Tree Advisory Committee meeting on October 10th, 2024?
Aye.
Right, so approved.
Will you do the second, Joe?
Okay, next item on the agenda, public appearances. There are none. There's no one here. Next item is agenda review. Any recommendations for changing the agenda order for tonight? Okay.
Somebody move to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, our agenda stands as is for tonight, January 9th, 2025. All right, first item on the agenda is the resolution R220-24, City of Fitchburg Forest Management Plan Update. And,
Is this the one about the dog?
There's someone in the hall, so I might just see if
This
someone's
one
here.
about the dog park?
Yeah,
Sure
it is, yes. Nicole, do you want to introduce it?
Yes, so this is I'm just getting it pulled up. So this is a resolution that myself and Alder Dantzler are co-sponsoring and has graciously been written and chaired by Anna. And we are kind of circling back to a part of public parkland that we agreed previously to leave untouched and unmanaged for 5 years, I believe it was. Those 5 years have since passed, so we just want to procedurally bring a resolution back that says, okay, now time to readdress those lands. So this is kind of a simple, kind of, bless you, probably a little bit more procedural in nature than anything else. But it's just bringing this forward, and we'd like to bring it to council.
So are we supposed to approve it?
Yes.
Is that?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
There's a vote on
Yes,
it.
yes, but the council would
Supposed to
love
vote
to
on it.
hear from Tree Advisory, if there's any edits or changes, and then it will go to Park Commission. Unfortunately, they don't meet until like a month from now. So it probably won't come to council until after that, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's winter.
Yeah, moving slowly but with purpose, and effectively, which is good. So that's what we want to do, is review the actual resolution.
And the Park Commission will review it on February 6th.
Yeah.
All right, has everybody had a chance to read it and also read the, I'm going to call it introduction to council that was written by Scott?
Well, I actually wrote that. I hope
You
it makes
did?
sense. I did, but I did that back in October. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh.
Is it under the supporting document for?
It should be. It was on there.
It
I
is
see a
from
bunch
you.
of links.
It is
Yeah,
written,
yeah.
I'm sorry, it does say it's written by you. I see it, yeah.
So
I wanna make sure I'm looking
And it was
at.
submitted to.
I have a copy. Do you want a copy?
Is it the referral sheet?
Yes.
Then I've read that one.
Is that what it is?
Yes,
Is
yes,
it
yes.
what it is? Yeah. So, and it's dated December 4th in regards to this resolution.
So, and then, I don't want to interrupt anyone's reading. I just want to say, I did send you an updated map because on the original map, we left off Terra Vesta. So on the updated map I sent you yesterday, it includes our Terra Vesta woodlot, which is one of our biggest ones.
Okay.
And it got left off the original map.
I think the only, the only thing I will highlight, and it's very clear in here, that this is, I've already gotten like a couple questions from other members. This is approval to include these areas in a plan. It's not approving budget, it's not approving actual implementation things or plans. It's an approval to say, we are now going to consider all zones of MAGA public lands in our planning. And I think that's called out well in here, like management plan. The word plan shows up 1 million times, which I think is good. Because that was the biggest piece of, not feedback, but maybe feedback or question that I got was like, well, this has to be in the budget. And I'm like, yes, but this isn't asking for money. It's just kind of procedurally reintroducing that areas 1 and 5 should now be looped back, right? I'm saying the right one? Yeah. Should be looped back in.
And I think I put in here somewhere, I thought I put down that any really digging into the work and potentially asking for budget would happen in 26. But maybe I
Did you
should.
put that in one of the referral sheets?
It's on the referral sheet. About the concerns that neighbors had and about how the city is planning to address that.
I don't see it on the intro of the referral.
It's,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay,
here.
so
Which one is that?
so let me just read it. So as part of the update, staff will recommend
It's
the
the
forest
staff memo.
management plan,
Oh, it's a memo, okay.
that the forest management plan address concerns raised by neighboring property owners, including the following, planting a buffer of native trees and shrubs along the park boundary as appropriate, identifying non-savanna trees to retain in the landscape, and adjusting the time frame for invasive species removal from 3 years to 10 or 12 years as appropriate.
I see it now.
So that's included in the.
I'm sorry, it's in the staff memo.
No, that's fine. I think during the presentation and during kind of bringing this forward, I will make sure that this is highlighted as well, and that all the supporting documents in this right-hand side just all get added
Okay.
along with it too.
Great.
But no, that was my fault. You don't have to apologize, because that's great. I could have pointed very easily to that. So that's awesome.
And I would say just from, this year, we kind of have our hands full with doing, we're really working on ash replacements.
Yeah.
Ash removal and replacements. We're really working on canopy renovation in Southdale, and we're really working on our urban forestry strategic management plan. So, between those 3 relatively big projects, we're pretty packed. And
Yeah.
so to take on another project, realistically, it really is probably going to be 26. And that's a little disappointing to some folks, but it's not like it's not going to happen. We'll be doing, because we'll be gearing up and getting stuff ready to move in 26. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
I think it makes a ton of sense.
Okay. So, anyway.
I'd like to hear more about this 10 to 12 year thing. This sounds like
About the what?
the 10 to 12 year reference. That seems like an awfully long timeline. I may not be alive in 10 to 12 years.
I was just trying to be realistic. I mean, like, trying to, because it's a pretty big area, and I know, like, our last time frame was 5 years, and that's pretty aggressive. I mean, and particularly with black locust, what I don't want to do is get too ahead of ourselves where we're taking trees down, then we've got all these resprouts. Instead of dealing with that, we're kind of continuing to do more management. So I'd rather do kind of a careful situation, and I think that's just a realistic time frame of what it might take us to do it.
Can you talk a little bit about what phases? Because it doesn't mean you're going to wait 10 to 12 years to begin it. It just means it'll take that long to complete it. Is that correct?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
until we really get to a,
Right.
to a static, more of a static, so we're done with active management. For example, SC Johnson, we started SC Johnson in 2018. It's looking awesome. We were there today doing, I don't know if we were talking about maybe bringing the forestry mower back, but we were back there today doing we had a few ash trees, we had about 12 ash trees that had to get taken down, and it's just a continual process. And we removed all that honeysuckle, I think it was in 2018, which was awesome, but it's just a matter of, it just takes a lot of active management, and we don't have tons of resources to do all this, so it's just, I think that's just realistic. I understand what you're saying.
Do we maybe add then the word adjusting the time frame for invasive species removal completion?
Okay, that might be.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
That point is,
Yeah,
Agreed.
okay.
Otherwise,
And I don't know if that's in here at all.
That's a good
but
point,
I
yeah.
think the fact that some of it has to be done in phases is important
Yes.
for the reader to
sorry.
understand.
Yes, and I didn't really address your question. So for example, the first phase is getting rid of the honeysuckle. That's a forestry mow and treat, which we did in SC Johnson in 18, and they did an awesome job. We now don't really have a lot of those invasive shrubs in there. However, then the next phase was getting rid of some of the annual biennial weeds and doing seeding. And we've been doing seeding by phases in there because we don't want any particularly aggressive native thing to take over. And now it's actually starting to look pretty good. So we kind of introduce things in, see what comes back, introduce things in as is appropriate. So that's kind of the phasing that you're talking about. We did the same. And also the other thing is sometimes we get opportunities. For example, sometimes we get lots of donated seed, which is awesome. And we can take advantage of that. Sometimes we have big volunteer days, which we can take advantage of. So it kind of influences kind of what we're prioritizing and what we're doing. And you can see that in stance 1 and 5. 5 is SC Johnson, but particularly in stance 1, because as we've had Thermo Fisher, for example, hey, we're gonna bring 30 volunteers and come and work with you. Great, that's when we planted all those oak trees. We did a little bit of seeding and a little bit of invasives removal. Last year we had Sierra Club and DNR come and plant oak trees, things of that nature. So that's, I think, is that kind of the phasing that you're talking about?
Yes, and there will be some opportunities for other resources
Yes.
in addition to our staff and over the years.
Yes, yeah.
So it
yes.
sounds like it's more than just removal.
Yes. So,
It's removal and native species planting
yeah, I guess you could
in a 10-year cycle.
What did you call it? You said active management?
Right, yeah, active management where we're actively,
Right.
so we have some with us that we're actively managing. I would say Dolly is one, and we'd like to have Mogami, another one, where we're having to get in there and really get our hands on that resource and take out hazard trees is a big one for us now. Take out hazard trees, take out invasive shrubs, and get the equipment in there. When we get to more of a status management, we're throwing fire through, we're doing this in little things, but nothing huge. Dolly Conservancy on the wooded edge, we're still in active management. That prairie, we burn it. We might do a little bit of weed management, but not much. It's beautiful prairie. It hosts, bumblebees that the Smithsonian comes to look at, those rusty patch bumblebees, and we really don't spend much money there. I bet we spend $1,000 a year on the high end.
And the rusty patch bumblebees, they are on the extinction.
They're endangered, yeah.
Endangered list,
So,
right.
and we have them nesting there, and the amount we spend there is negligible. If we had to mow an area that big, look out. We'd be out there all the time. And all we really, so what I'm trying to say is the active management is when we're really out there, seeing what's coming back, seeing what needs to be taken care of, either hiring contractors or having staff in there really with their hands on that resource. And once we get to kind of just the routine, more static management, that's what we'd like to get to. And in this case, it's probably gonna take about 12 years.
So it's a phased completion of the active management
Yeah.
that takes the 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And partly because the area is so big,
Yeah.
and we haven't done anything for 35 years.
I wonder if
think
you want
that's
to bring
really
that
thoughtful,
up.
yeah.
This, I wonder.
Yes, absolutely.
And then just talk about, right, when I look at the map of our woodlots, we don't have a lot. This is a huge resource. This is a huge asset for the city.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, again, we've talked a lot at our previous meetings about why this is so important. I think when people are walking through the park and they see a huge tree in this area, they think, oh, that's great, we want to keep it. But it's not. A lot of these are the invasive trees that are killing everything under it and not allowing anything else to grow. And I think the other the positive thing about this area, once it comes under the management of staff, again, like the rest of it, is that you had talked about this is like a area that is pre-industrial agricultural chemicals. So there is actually a seed bank in the ground that will begin to produce vegetation
Yeah,
once
it'll come back.
the invasives are taken out.
Yeah, we really have a great resource. If you look at our woodlots, in the areas that we're trying to do restore prairie and things of that nature, it's very thoughtful, right? We're not really, there's a few that were cornfields or were, industrial areas that we've tried to bring back, but for the most part, we're dealing with native soils that have a lot to offer from a native seed bank perspective that have not been sprayed with glyphosate. So, in Roundup Ready crop situations, so we have a lot to work with, and so we're kind of working with nature. And once we kind of get it going, it kind of helps us out, and we kind of get to where we want. Like with the LA Conservancy, we throw the fire through. Which is helpful. We might have to do some weed management here and there, but for the most part, it's doing its thing, and we don't really have to interfere with it too much, which is kind of what we want to do. And it's sequestering carbon, hosting a lot of native species. It looks awesome. You go there, you don't get attacked by mosquitoes because there's so many dragonflies, everything else. So your dog doesn't get full of ticks. So we can get to that more easily when we work with these areas that have native soils, and McGaw Park is one of those places.
So an unmanaged woodlot in 2025 means things like an abundance of ticks, an abundance of invasives, and also just overall, it really limits the birds and the animals and all the other
And our
members of the
constituent
ecosystem.
enjoyment of that space, right? Like walking through it, I think I was really struck by number one, I didn't even know this went this far back. Number two, it was buggy. And number three, there were things like the old calisthenic workout things that I was like, that looks rusty and dangerous, and I don't know if the city could be held liable for this. There are some things that also need to be maintained from a safety perspective. And I think the last piece that I feel very strongly and very grateful that you all have brought attention to this is I also don't want very old trees to die because we have invasive species that's also not that it all revolves around money, but it's kind of priceless, right? But it's expensive for us to continue to replace those trees.
To let them die. And we witnessed that when we went through that area, that there were healthy oaks that were dying because of that.
Yeah, and I think you nailed the user. It's a park for the people who live here. And if they can't get in there, or if they get in there and get eaten by mosquitoes, or if their dog gets full of ticks so they don't come back, that's a big deal. And if you do go walking in our areas that have native prairie, you have a much different experience. You don't get mobbed by mosquitoes, you don't get mobbed by ticks, and it's beautiful, and you get to see lots of birds and butterflies and bees and all kinds of great things. So it's I think the user experience honestly is the number one thing.
Yeah. So if there's a lot of ticks, that means there's a lot of invasives?
Well, there's a lot of cover for the little, so the thing is what it means that everything is out of balance, right? Ticks, when they first get started, they move around on mice. If you have a lot of raptors that can get in there and hunt those down, you're gonna have less of the little mice and less habitat for those ticks. If you have all this cover down low that mice can kind of hang out in, you kind of have a situation where the ticks can really get a hold and keep on just going crazy, and we can't burn that. So I think part of the reason why we don't have ticks in some of our prairies is we burn them every year. So we kill off all of those nymphs, and the ticks have to start over. Whereas in McGaw, they're like, oh, we're happy, we're here doing our thing.
Actual airflow and sunlight is limited in this area.
And the airflow is exceedingly limited.
Yeah, it's thick.
It's
It's thick. It's not like pleasant to be in there in the middle of
So
summer.
Anna, you did a video, an educational video.
Yes.
With
I did.
FACTv.
Yes.
So I think that might be really important to maybe include on here
Right.
as a link to that. That would really encourage the council to look at that.
So I will say it's awesome. FACTv did an awesome job, and they need the PDF of the stand map from me in its original form, and I'm having trouble pulling that off of an old computer because it's in a software that no longer supports. So I need to get that to them. I might just have to bring that laptop on here and give that to them. So that's the missing piece, which I'm a little embarrassed to say, like I can't figure out how to get that because it's old. It's from 2016. So anyway.
How long is it? I mean, is that something we want to show council when I would
They did
expect
an
that
awesome
it'll
job.
pass the park.
It's 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, we could,
So, I mean, we could
or have it available. I
have
don't know.
committee members there to
Yeah.
answer any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Anna, we would clearly love, Alder Danzler and I would love to have you there, and anybody else from the tree committee who would love to come. I'm not gonna require that all of you come, because those meetings can get long.
I'd be happy
but-
to do it, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have you available to answer questions, because to everybody's point, like I think walking through is very different, and I think having that video available is super effective.
Yep.
Right.
I will figure this. I'm a little embarrassed that I haven't figured it out yet. but I
Don't
will.
be embarrassed.
No,
IT things are
it's
uniquely frustrating.
Yes. Anyway. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, we can do that.
okay.
Are there any other pieces of feedback when it comes to like what we might want Anna to incorporate in the wording or kind of in the presentation to council?
Well, I think seeing what it looks like when restoration happens, that would be helpful in addition to the reason why this needs to be managed like our other city resources.
Do we have any like stills that we could compare in terms of like, here's a still, and again, I don't think this has to be ready before it goes to like park commission, for example, but prepped for council, that might be really effective of like, this is what it looks like when we have managed, when it's in a static management, and this is what it looks like before active management has happened.
We can do that. Well, I can take a picture of SC Johnson. It looks awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's outside the growing season, so you don't get to see what's growing in there, but I can take a picture of that just so you can see the structure, right? There's still a lot of big trees in there. We could have, we didn't put any shrubs.
You could say too, like when you talk about 10 to 12 year cycle, how far into that you are.
But yeah, we're kind of at the end of it with SC Johnson, yeah.
So-
That would be, good
And it's-
context. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a smaller area. Is it? Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's this little bit of, that little,
it's 7.1 acres and
Yeah.
Agave Park.
But it's like right across, so that would be a really
Yes,
nice
yeah,
comparison.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of plantings since all this started. There have been plantings as well,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was one of the
absolutely.
concerns of the neighbors, I think.
Well, absolutely, yeah, and I can appreciate the neighbors'
They were
concern.
concerned about the plantings.
They were concerned about not having trees.
That we would like
I mean, that was part
make
of
it very bare.
that. When you took the invasives, you take all the green space, which is not.
They want the buffer.
Yeah.
No matter what's making up the buffer.
Right, yeah. Right, so at any rate, I guess I'm happy to get together whatever is helpful. I can definitely take some still photos of SC Johnson just to say like, hey, this is kind of what we're shooting for. And, and also maybe the triangle. I haven't been in the triangle recently. I should tromp around in there. Anyway, yes, that's completely possible. We can totally do that, no problem, and have that available.
Okay. And then can you just let us know when it's going to be?
Yes, so I
receives it?
would guess, so it'll be referred to Park, and unless Park has any big concerns or feedback, and they could even refer it to council without it having to come back here and say, the only changes we had are X, Y, and Z. Of course, I just lost my tab. It'll be whatever city council meeting is after February 6th.
On the referral sheet, it's February 11th. Right?
February 11th?
Isn't that what it is?
Okay,
Then go to
yes, I
council.
believe you. I just lost my tab.
That's
I see
fantastic.
tabs.
So,
So if you all are able and want to join, we would love to have the committee there.
I mean, it would be good to get some, positive comments, I think,
Yeah, I think so too.
so. And I appreciate everyone's really wanting this to move forward. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I really do. And I appreciate everyone coming out and walking with me. I thought that was awesome.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. And
Alder Danzler said the same thing.
Oh,
He was like,
good.
it was super interesting to see that in person.
Yeah,
The
and-
need was so clear. It was
Yes.
really dramatic.
Yes.
Really dramatic. Yes.
Okay. And if anyone wants to walk with me, I'll take you out again. It's no problem.
Right. Anything else? Any other questions? Craig, do you have any questions?
No, I think this all makes sense. The only thing I was going to add is that I believe, Anna, this is the only woodlot we have that has these restrictions right now. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Correct,
Yes.
I think that's something that just is worth highlighting in the council meeting to say that this is like the exception, not the way we typically manage our public spaces.
Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. That's why I put the map together, just to show like, hey, okay, yes, awesome.
That's a great point.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, anything else? Anne, was there anything else you had?
No, I just want to make sure that the wording can be improved to make it clear this isn't an excuse to delay the project. It's just that it's a project that takes a long time to complete.
Fair point, Tisha.
All right, so are we ready to take a vote?
Do we need a motion to solve, but we're making changes?
No, I don't think there's changes to the resolution, is there, or there's changes?
Right, if it's
to the-
changes to the supporting documents, that's
Right.
correct. Then we don't have
You don't have to
we don't
do
have to
it.
cite the changes. If it is to the resolution wording, we do.
But the resolution can stay as is?
I don't think any of our feedback was on the resolution wording, so yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I might ask that someone else move since I am a sponsor. I don't want to be the leading driver.
What?
If somebody else can move to approve.
Oh, instead of you?
Yes,
So
since I'm
what
the
would I
sponsor.
move?
You can just say move approval.
To approve the resolution to 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Good. All right, unanimously approved.
Thank you, everyone, and I really
Thank you for
appreciate
writing
everyone.
this.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem. And it's funny, it's like, as you know, I did this back in October, and not that I forgot what I wrote, but I was like, oh yeah.
Seriously. I saw this come up on my calendar. I was like, yay.
Yeah. At any rate, well, awesome. Oh, great.
Very pleased and grateful.
Yeah.
We got this far. All right, next agenda item is Arbor Day, April 26th, Eagle Jamestown Park.
Yes. So I think some of you are aware that I did write an Inflation Reduction Act grant that did not get funded. However, we were working closely with Urban Tree Alliance, and their grant did get funded. So the project is moving forward, just under different. Exactly, great, right? So we're still doing the Arbor Day funded by IRA in Hugo Jamestown Park, and it's actually kind of a big project because we're doing canopy renovation in that park. So it's about, well, I went out there with Jeremy, we spec'd out 17 tree planting locations, and he's actually ordered the trees. We're probably not gonna get 17 trees planted between 10 and noon on Saturday the 26th, which is totally fine. So he's gonna have the group OFS, Operation Fresh Start, do it the next week. So whatever gets done is awesome. So exactly. And so we'll have plenty of, if we do end up getting big crowds from the neighborhood, which maybe we will, I don't know, if we end up having, you know, a huge school group or whatever, that's fine. We've got plenty of planting spaces for them. If we get it done, great. If not, come Monday, Operation Fresh Start, we'll finish planting the trees. And then they're gonna water them all summer, which is really nice. Exactly.
Super great.
It's awesome because Linda was nice enough to water the trees that we planted the last Arbor Day, and that was awesome. So, and we really appreciated, that was great. So I really appreciate that they're willing to they're gonna mulch and water in the summer, which is awesome. And they may stake if we need things staked. I don't know if we will or not.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's really great, and it's really a nice opportunity for Operation Fresh Start. It's great for us. The other part of this project, this isn't really an Arbor Day project, but the other part that's going to happen this spring, unless something crazy happens, like after COVID, I'm afraid to make promises, right? Because you remember Arbor Day, the COVID year, we had all this stuff set up, and then March came, and I'm like, and then April came, and it was like, nope. And I was like, great. And it was, oh man, and that was a nutty year. Anyway, so if barring anything berserk happening, we are also going to do a canopy renovation in Southdale. So I spec'd today, I think 27 tree planting locations. So that will happen. We did not really have the budget within our current resources to do that canopy renovation that we really need to do because we are behind in that neighborhood planting trees. We did replace the ash trees, but there's more work to do. So did I misspell it?
I think no, it's just not identified.
Oh.
It's that little outcropping up there.
Yes, that's it. Yes, that is. Yeah, that is. So at any rate, so really looking forward to that. And again, that will be an OFS, Operation Fresh Start project, hopefully. So, and of course in Southdale, it's, I did mark 10 trees for removal there today because there are a lot of trees there that are in very poor condition, a lot of frost cracking, a lot of half-dead crowns, and I left those trees because when we talked on the ash trees, I kind of hated to take everything.
Take down the canopy.
Exactly, but
You
today.
said that earlier.
Yeah, so today I marked the rest of everything that's sort of questionable because we're going to get it replaced, right, this spring/summer. So
Do you take them down in the winter?
Yep.
Normally? Okay.
Yep. So yeah. So at any rate, so I'm very excited about that. I'm really grateful, and Jeremy's been great to work with. You guys met him a couple of months ago. So I'm very excited about that, and I feel much better about that situation because I did feel a little bit bad that we've been working in Southdale, but our capacity isn't quite what I would like it to be. But with this infusion of grant funding, it really it's very helpful. So I'm very hopeful that will go according to plan, and so far it seems like it is. And I will just say that we're only replacing 3 trees in the park because that park is getting renovated next year.
That's right.
So I would love to put more trees in that park, but we're going to be putting a different shelter in and a bathroom and all these sorts of, exactly.
Damage them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. There's 3 trees on the very eastern edge that are half dead. They got burned up by fireworks 2 years ago. So exactly. They were, yeah, it was a little sad. But so they're going to be going, and we'll replace those 3, but the rest of it doesn't make any sense to do anything with at this point. Yeah, well,
do any of the park fees get dedicated to trees at all?
Yeah, so park improvement fees we use for planting trees, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
regularly, yes.
Great.
Yes, I would say I tap into those funds quite often. Yes, absolutely, and I'm very grateful to have that. Yeah, and when you see new trees around playground, that is exactly what paid for them. So, and if there's, if it's one of those things where, there's more trees or there's, more, we run a little short, we just throw a little operating in there to finish it off.
Sure.
Yeah, but, for example, all the trees in McGaw that are, the new part of McGaw, we've probably put 57 trees in there, I think it is at this point, around the pickleball courts, around that big flag football field, around the playground, all of that, the windbreak around the baseball diamond, or softball diamond, I kind of forget what's what over there, but yeah, all of that was park improvement. Yeah.
I just want to comment, McGaw is a very well-used park.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Still, we all know McKee is too, but McGaw is.
Absolutely.
Always people walking through there.
And I will say the cool thing about McGaw too, not to belabor the point, but the cool thing about McGaw is the city purchased, or it was then the town, purchased that land for a park. So there isn't a ton of infrastructure under the ground. It's not dual purpose. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
this was a park.
Retention ponds like the key does.
Right, and not that I'm saying that's bad, but it's just all of every square inch of that is park. And it was, you know, the idea was that was going to be the community park for then town of Fitchburg, which is kind of cool, you know. So we're not limited with, oh, there's a big sanitary lateral here, you know, there's perforated pipe here, that kind of stuff. That doesn't exist nearly as much, which is kind of nice. We have to work around the water, just delivery, the distribution stuff, but not the big, infrastructure movement through there, which is kind of cool. So anyway, just another plug from McGaw. It is cool. It is really cool. So at any rate, so I guess I know people get really busy, but if you're interested in participating in Arbor Day, I want to put the date out there for you. It's going to be 10 to noon on the 26th of April, and we're expecting to have a really great weather day.
Just speak it into existence. I like that.
We're manifesting an awesome weather day. That's
right.
what we're doing starting now, and it's going to be, I think, a really nice day. And I'm really grateful that we're getting back up in that neighborhood and doing some events because we haven't been up there for a while. I've already reserved the shelter, so we should be in good shape. And if anyone has questions or concerns, let me know. The tree planting plan is still a little bit drafty because we're still kind of working out some of the, I mean, we have a pretty good general idea. We're still working out some of the species because of availability, but if you want to see it, I'm happy to share it with you. I can have it on our next meeting if you'd like. But I think it's going to be a great day. Good day to celebrate trees.
Or was that on Earth Day that we had the tree planting out here with the daycare kids?
That was Earth Day.
Okay.
But, and Earth Day, this is not set in stone yet, but I can just, not to get off topic too much off of the agenda, but Earth Day is probably going to be this year in McGaw doing turf replacement, planting native plants, and doing shrubs.
Okay.
But I haven't got that quite as.
So that'll be a later agenda that you'll.
It will be. It's going to happen earlier in April. It's kind of funny that we have Earth Day or Arbor Day squared away and Earth Day's the week before, but I'm still kind of waiting on availability. I put in an order for free things, and I don't know if we'll get it or not. So I'm just waiting to see if we'll get the free stuff before I buy anything. So anyway, that's the long story, even longer, which maybe is more than we needed to know. But all right.
All right, so that was both of those agenda items, right?
No, well, the DNR grant is another thing.
All right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry,
I'm
ready
just like,
for that?
talk,
Yeah.
talk,
No, that's fine.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yep.
Okay.
So now we're on the Urban Forestry Strategic Management Plan, the DNR grant.
Okay, thank you. So thank you guys for approving that grant. I wrote that last year. It got funded. We just got the approval on the 1st of January. So I'm working now on the RFP to get out there to basically write a strategic management plan for our forestry department, which many of you have been working on and off over the years. We had one in 2000 or something like that, like a long time ago. It was supposed to be a 5-year plan. It never got updated. We're finally able to, I wrote the grant to hire a consultant to actually do it, and I'm putting together the RFP. The one thing, I don't have it quite done. I'm still getting feedback from administration and from planning and other people, but the one thing I will say is I'm putting on this RFP that the plan needs to be done by December 15th, because we have a year to spend this grant money. So if we want the deliverable by December 15th, I want them to present it to council on October 28th. So, which is a kind of a tight time frame, and we typically do not meet in October. However, I did reserve this room, and I did put on the meeting schedule that we have an October meeting in the case that we want to forego one of our earlier meetings and have that October meeting to finalize this plan, just to put it out there for folks.
After it comes back from council approved?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so just so we have a little bit of, leeway there. And this hasn't gone out yet, so it can change. I just would, in October is when I would like to get the final approvals so that we get all the revisions and we get the final product in December.
Yeah.
Because we have to turn that into DNR and say like, hey, look at us, aren't we cool, we did this. And then they say, oh good, and then they give us the money. So I just want to make sure we have a real. Wow, whoops.
What's that?
I don't know. Wow. Okay. Okay.
It was me.
Okay, fair enough. So at any rate, so when I have this time frame nailed, kind of ironed out, I'll let you know if we need to change our meetings just to accommodate this. It's not really that big of a deal. I just want to be forward thinking so we don't end up, because the referral process takes a while and I don't want to.
Yes.
And I also want the consultant to know, like, hey, we're serious. Like,
Right.
we're not, because some people like ask for extensions. We're not doing that. Like, we're not asking for extension. We're getting this done. So this summer, like, we're doing this. Starting this spring, we're doing
Right.
this.
That's
So-
exciting.
It is exciting. It is really exciting. And basically just the outline of it is identifying what we have, identifying what we want, and then the plan is the bridge.
Mhm.
This is what we have, this is what we want, how do we get there? And I did put in here that it needs to be vertically integrated into the Park and Open Space Plan that just got approved and the comp plan that exists. And then if we get a strategic plan adopted before I get this out, I'll put that in there too, that they need to be mindful of those existing plans. We don't have competing, so they know like, hey, this is the direction we're moving, we need to fit in with that and move forward. So no, it's very exciting. And once I get this out and we get the consultants back, we'll probably have them present to this group and figure out all that kind of stuff. So
I have a quick question. Is there any review of like what groups will be informed by this plan? And the reason I ask that is like, as we've been going through our strategic plan, right, there's been questions brought up and I think good, fair questions of like, hey, is the Community Diversity Committee included in this conversation to understand how does our strategic plan talk to the diversity of our community? One of the committees that I wonder if they would have like an interest in this or the vision of what we want it to be would be the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative. Just because like tree canopy disparity is such an issue in that space that might be cool to like just, you know, again, state appropriate boundaries of like, this is still the purview of city staff, but like, we'd love to just hear your opinion and make sure you feel included in that conversation.
I agree.
Okay.
You know, I totally agree. And as I'm writing this RFP, I'm struggling with how prescriptive to be, but I am putting in here that they need to, you know, present to committees as appropriate. And I didn't completely spell it out, but I could.
I think presenting to committees as appropriate with a like kind of holistic, I don't know if you want to use the word like equity lens or a holistic community lens. It was one of the gotchas that looking back in our RFP for the strategic plan, our consultant was like, you didn't really call out that this was an important lens to use. And we were like, that's super fair actually.
Yeah, she did a good job of like.
She did. She was like, you guys didn't say that this was a super important piece or else I might have done this a little different. I might have just included that in a question of every session. And I was like, that's super fair.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring that up.
No, that's a good point. And and RFPs are hard because you don't want to be too prescriptive.
That's right. That's
and
right.
it's different. See,
They
I'm
are
just
hard.
writing contracts because contracts, there's no wiggle room. You want no ad lib.
Nope.
You want Zippo in the ad lib department. So like when I write the tree contract, it's this exactly here, exactly this way. That's it. Here's the drawing. Here's what it is. Here's the drawing. Put these two together right there. That's it.
To your point, I don't think you have to list out every committee, but I think committees as appropriate, and then maybe we put something in there just like a holistic community lens or something. I don't, whatever you find is appropriate, but even maybe when talking to them, you can inform them of some of
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that is a good point, and I was kind of actually thinking about that and how to kind of tackle that issue because we try in our operations to tackle it, but it isn't a spelled out policy.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of stuff that's not as spelled out, like when we talked about plan commission and we were talking about like what businesses, a little off topic, but what businesses to put in this one space. And it was a healthy neighborhood and we were putting a bunch of fast food restaurants. And I was like, that doesn't feel like, but there's actually nothing written quite yet. And the team is working on it, but it wasn't really spelled out. And I was like, this developer has put in a lot of time and isn't technically violating any of the policies written out.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's sad to hear and good to know that you're addressing it.
Yeah, for sure. And so is the mayor, Bill Jetzer, is doing a great
We worked
job.
for years and years and years to get fresh food back into some of the neighboring high-density areas. And now we have an opportunity to do that with new neighborhoods. I mean, that's...
So we'll get there. I mean, I think you're doing a great job with a limited amount of like really clear kind of call out in that space. And if you need any support, please let council or staff know.
So I have another question just connected with creating the management plan, and that has to do with a conversation we had earlier about woodlots.
Oh, sure.
And I had questions about, I mean, how our woodlots sources, I mean, just the acreage compares with other cities.
Yep.
And I had a question about how important it might be for sustainability for our canopy, as well as other parts of our ecosystem, birds, animals, and those kinds of things, and whether the planning might want to include eventually growing our woodlots or planting trees in that kind of a pattern. And we talked about that like with Key, for instance, whether there's a place for that. So I guess the question is is it appropriate for that to be part of the management plan that you'd be looking at with the consultant?
Well, I would say one of the things we have is a 30% canopy goal.
Right?
One of the things we want is to actually achieve that by 2050.
Right.
How do we get there?
So it sounds very much like that point should be included.
And and I watched a really great webinar today about, I was like, I should tune into this. It was from Urban Forestry Today, which is the University of Massachusetts Extension Service. And I was like, but I wanna, and they're nice enough to put it up to the public so everyone can watch it. But it was about how to achieve a 30% canopy goal. Also to have 3 trees that everyone sees, from wherever they are. Like, so you have access to exactly.
And that gets
see,
into the equity piece.
Exactly, that you
yes,
see,
I
right.
love that.
And that you are within, they said 300 meters, but we'd have to change that because comes from Europe, but of a high quality park. I'm just like, so it's 330, 300? And I was just like, So we have that 30% canopy goal, which is awesome, but maybe we kind of massage it and be like, hey, we also want the 3, so when people, leave their residence or whatever it happens to be, the school or whatever, they see 3 trees. And I don't know that we can say we have that.
And I think the community, that is why, to your point, if the strategic plan is ready, it'd be really cool to include in the RFP, because part of what we talk about in the strategic plan is like, what is the identity of Fitchburg, which is like a really big question. But I think something that everyone can kind of identify with is there's a lot of green spaces.
Yes.
Which people really like. I think the majority of Fitchburg, whether you live in an apartment or on a farm, everybody likes that.
Yes.
So I do like the idea of having that, however we figure 330, 300, or however we figure that out, that's kind of a cool thing to be focused on.
What did they stand for again?
So the 3 is 3 trees. So if let's say you leave this building or you leave your house or whatever, you see 3 trees. And I think in some parts of Fitchburg, that probably is the case where some people, as they're living their day-to-day lives and moving around, they will see 3 trees here, 3 trees there, 3, you're always seeing 3 trees, which is kind of a cool way to phrase it. 1 isn't enough. Apparently 2 is enough. 3, I didn't quite get why it settled on 3, but I'll take it. And then the idea was this is part of the 30% canopy goal that you need that for. And they had the person who did it was Danish, and he did a very good job of talking about, and he had a lot of data from Copenhagen, but just how in these neighborhoods that have the 30% canopy, all this health information, which was awesome, and then also all this energy information, which was really very interesting as well. So anyway, so the 30%, and he's like, the minimum you need is 30%. I thought we were shooting the moon with 30, but apparently that's really what you should be shooting for. And then with the 300, and he was talking about how different cities across the world are really kind of reimagining, especially their dense urban areas, which we don't have quite as much, but just taking out building the parking lots, making that a green space, just to kind of get that.
It's a 300-meter walk to
300 meter, yes, exactly.
Right, and even deciding when to put a park bench in.
From
From your home.
Yeah,
Yes.
like anybody from your home has the 3, which I think we have like a goal.
We're close.
I think we said like either a 10-minute walk
Yep.
or 1 mile walk. I can't remember.
It's a minute. Yeah, it's the
Was it a 10-minute walk?
I think it was 10 minutes. Yeah, and we're close. We're doing pretty good with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so I just thought that was really cool, and that's the kind of stuff that I think you could put in the plan.
3-30-10.
Right.
Like every committee can kind of have that. I think those quick numbers of baked into your head as we grow so quickly. I think that's a really cool thing that you always grab onto.
Right. Yeah. And so anyway, so I thought that was cool, and that could be something that, because strategic is big picture, right? So this is not management like, this year we're gonna prune 67 trees, and we're gonna plant 472, like it's not that prescriptive, it's big picture, like what are we shooting for, which is kind of fun, and not really, like I'm so in the weeds, sometimes it's a little hard for me to like think big picture, but we really got to, I mean like.
So you bring in a consultant to help with that.
Yes, because I'm so busy with like it's really hard to do the bigger picture stuff because we just don't, like that's not the space that we operate in. So I'm really grateful that A, we got the grant, and B, we're able to move forward with this process.
So I just have one more question, I think, related to that. So I know we talked about this a lot with the preservation resolution, that how do you integrate when you get a great plan in place, how do you integrate it with the other departments? So we're all working together. So I'm thinking even about how the park decides on, when they're gonna take out a hunk of the natural, grasses like around the retention pond and put in a park bench, which just happened in McKee. I'm like, really? I was just surprised. So, I mean, I think, how do we?
I think it's a communication thing. I mean, I would say I am very lucky that we have first of all, we have very nice people who work here, which is a nice starting place, and they're very open to the conversations, right? So, for example, saving those trees along Lacey Road, I mean, the engineers let me the long year, they really were very nice and very accommodating. Yeah. So I think we have it's just a matter of like being aware and being around and and I've inserted myself a lot, and I try to do that as appropriate.
So that culture really has developed well in the staff.
Yeah, I feel like we have that, so I think it's just a matter of kind of keeping on top of it. But you're right, we kind of all need to be working together, and I think part of that is just like, paying attention to what's going on. I look at the plan reviews as they come across. Right. And I was thrilled to see there was a plan review for, a renovation of actually an auto repair place, and they were like really working around a big tree, and I was like, yes, that's awesome. So anyway, that's a little bit.
That's this plan too, much like the strategic plan.
Right.
When it gets adopted, there's going to be kind of a checkpoint in policy and in staff planning of like, does this match the strategic plan? This should be on the same level of.
Right.
Okay, does it involve trees or grass or foliage, fauna, or flora, so like, then look at the management plan.
Right, yeah.
That's great.
So I think it's just a matter of, keeping up the communication. I mean, you have a really great point, and I think we just need to, keep up the communication. Whether we get down to the park bench level, I'm not really sure, but like from big picture, we definitely need to just, keep the conversation rolling. But that's an excellent point. So, and there's nothing to vote on yet because I don't have the RFP done or that sort of stuff, but more soon. We just got rolling on this on the second, third, whatever it was. So it's still kind of in process, but we are moving forward.
Very exciting. All right, I think we're ready for the next agenda item, which is report from the department.
Yeah, what did I even write down here? All kinds of stuff happening.
I think we talked about the first two.
Yep.
I'd like to hear a little bit about the biochar. Is that just used for new trees or for keeping older trees healthy?
Good question. So I'm kind of interested in that because we have some really bad soil in our terraces. Our parks are pretty decent. Well, some of our parks are full of fill. Like, okay, for example, we have a new park. I really don't know why. I'm not sure if it's glacial till that just got graded out, but like you try to plant a tree there, and as you're digging the hole, it's all grit. There's no dirt. So we're really having a hard time growing anything there, including.
And this is where?
It's in Terabessa. And it's a and they used to grow corn there, so I'm not sure exactly why that is the case. However, in our terraces, wow. I don't even know if you can call some of that soil. It's really very poor quality, and we're trying to grow trees in this. So one thing that's kind of come up has been to incorporate biochar, and so this particular webinar was basically how do you acquire biochar and
what is biochar? So
good question. So biochar is basically wood that's been burned, and it's just the chunks like. Like after a campfire, you see those, and they're kind of broken up. And the idea is that you incorporate into the soil. It's a carbon source, but it also has all these nooks and crannies and everything things that all kinds of microbes and all kinds of other stuff can get in there and start doing their work. So it creates habitat in the soil. That's basically what it does. So there is in Wisconsin. I do have a colleague at DNR who's working on this and asked me if we would be part of a pilot project. And I was like, well, let me figure out what the heck we're talking about before I even commit to this. And so it's something that I'm not sure if it's a good fit for us or not. Sort of the trick is, I don't know what the time frame is. Are we talking, does it make better soil in 10 years? Well, I don't know if that is that helpful, or is it a shorter, I don't know. So I'm trying to figure it out. But that may be one of our relatively low-cost solutions to getting better soil in the terrace. And people could also do it if they have bad soil in their yard, because I think some people are struggling with that as well in some of these new developments, is my impression. I don't know that for sure. But at any rate, so that's the whole biochar thing. It's just sort of one of those things where I'm always searching out how to make our soil better, to make our trees better, and that kind of was one of those things that I was kind of exploring. And I did do a little bit on my own, and it seems to work okay because my son has a nursery, and we did a little, it seems to be okay. I don't know. It's a little hard to tell because it's hard to know what would happen if you didn't have it in there, Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's the biochar thing. That's kind of a long story.
I'm still kind of learning about
and what the possibilities are. Yeah. So, and my bigger, and not to get too into the weeds, but I'm hoping in 26 we have the CIP to do the gravel bed. So I'm hoping that's an opportunity when we're planting those barewood trees. That's an opportunity. That might be an opportunity to excavate big holes and renovate soil. So that's what I'm kind of trying. That's kind of what I'm gearing for. So anyway, that's kind of the long story longer, bigger picture with that whole thing. But we'll see what becomes of it. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a lot of ash trees coming down. I don't know what to say. It's, but we're replacing them, so that's the upshot. We've got ARPA TID money to replace them, which is awesome. So we'll do that this spring, but there are a lot of ash trees coming down.
Do we have a lot of pear trees on our public lands?
Not too many.
Oh,
I did, so we removed, I think we did 26, 27 maybe that we removed. And
what is that?
Calorie pear. It was actually a go-to tree for us. I'm very irritated about this whole thing. So,
glad I could bring up a source.
No, it's fine. It's just, so calorie pear, it's very invasive south of here, right? If you go to North Carolina, let's say, you see it blooming, it's the same kind of thing. Creates these berries, birds eat the berries, and they carry it all over. And there's little calorie pear trees going everywhere. It's very invasive. Well, in Wisconsin, but it's a very tough tree. So it's great for poor soil. It's great for the middle of a roundabout. It's great for that spot, that gets trampled. Like we had some in McKee Farms Park. I ended up taking them out, but anyway. It used to be our go-to tree for an area we wanted to get something green, something shady that wasn't expensive and was somewhat disposable. I hate to say it like that, but if it got knocked around or beat up, it was pretty easy to replace and would take the abuse. Well, turns out, in Wisconsin, our winters used to be cold enough that those little tree seedlings, if they did get established, would be killed. Well, that's no longer the case. And so they're on the NR40 list, and unfortunately, and this really galls me, the public works guys were working, and they came across a shrub they didn't recognize. Like, hey, can you come here and take a look at this? It was calorie pear. And I'm like, ah! So I was like, I guess we have to take some action. So I know, I'm just...
And where was that?
It was not far from where you're familiar with this area. It was on that hillside along PD that we mow. That's just beyond where where Osmondson, so it's just beyond where Osmondson goes into Seminole Highlands, right? That hillside right beyond there. I know. I was like, thank you, birds. So anyway, so then I was like, well, we better get on this. So so we've been taking the ones that are big enough to fruit out, but it's pretty, and they're in crummy places, right? They're in the middle, they're medians, they're in, so it's not gonna be a canopy loss really, but it's annoying, and I did like to use that tree, and we can't anymore.
They're small trees anyway.
They are small, yeah, man. Anyway, so that's the deal with the calorie pear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And how many ash? Were a lot more ash taken out this last year than usual?
I marked, they're not all down yet, but I marked 106, 7, something like that. Yes, not great. Not awesome. Really heartbreaking. but I don't know what to do. They're all infested, which is not awesome. And then we did lose some ash to storm damage, which is how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. But I am grateful we can replace those ash trees, so they'll be replaced soon, but it's not a one-for-one, as we all know. It's not a one-for-one replacement, and it's a complete heartbreak, but there's not much we can do.
Right. Thank you.
All right, is that it?
At this point in ash removal, are people pretty adjusted to it and accepting, like if it's in their terrace and stuff, that they're like, you know, you don't get complaints or?
Well, no one's happy about it, yeah, but people are kind of like, oh, shoot. And especially some of these trees we've been treating for a while, and we were really trying to save them for not forever, but for longer than now. And I think what did a lot of the trees that we're taking out now in was that drought 2 years ago. And even, it just that was a great year for beetles and a bad year for trees. And if there was any opening, man, those beetles got in those trees, and then once they're in, and there's not much you can do. And you can poison and we try to poison that phloem, but once that damage is there, the tree can't move that chemical through like it should, and the beetle just takes advantage, and it's very tenacious.
I was kind of worried about this winter too, not having the snowfall.
Yes.
All to protect
Yes.
roots and
Yes.
things drying out. I thought,
Yes.
this is gonna, like,
You bring up-
things are not gonna sprout
A donut
next year or
hole.
the year after and be sort of like, gee, what happened to this plant? It was fine last year, now like dead or half dead or something, and
Well, you bring up an awesome point. Like, A, it's dry, and B, like, it's been cold at night, and then these afternoons it's really been heating up because there's no snow, right? So we've had quite a bit of frost cracking for that reason, and it's just like, well, great.
up and down temperatures.
Yeah, exactly. The freeze thaw. I don't know what to say about it. It's just it's just a challenge of, I guess, yeah, climate change. It's not awesome, but yeah, that's a good point. All right. Any other questions for me? Okay.
All right, any announcements?
I have an announcement.
All right.
Everything all right?
I just swallowed wrong. There's just another article gonna be coming out in this next edition of the Star.
Exciting,
Great.
exciting.
Did you help coordinate that?
Yeah, I wrote
She
it.
writes it.
Thank you.
She volunteered to do it
talked to
several
Anna,
times. Yeah.
And
Are
it's
you
about
the,
in
are
Woody.
you the volunteer that put together a
Yeah.
tree-related article?
That's it, that's me. Yeah. It's about woody invasives.
I would like to edit the update to associate ownership of that awesome
Yeah,
article
good
with you.
idea.
Have to do that.
Yes, that's awesome.
But I gotta
Yeah.
talk to you again, cause I wanna do another one in March.
Perfect.
Thank
Perfect.
you so much.
Yes, thank you,
for
Sue.
doing
That's
that.
awesome.
It's
That's
fun,
really awesome.
it's fun.
What are the key highlights or key points that you learned or anything to share?
I learned a lot and it's in the article.
I was just hoping you would be like, read the article, and then I'm like,
Wow, she'll quiz us on it next time.
It's about, well, all the effects of invasives, which I guess I didn't really know. I mean, I know they're bad, but I didn't know how that all happens. So, and I don't remember it now, so you'll have to read it.
That's super helpful.
It's awesome.
When does it come out?
In the Star, which is any time now this month, right?
We'll send that to council
And
members.
then the green whatever,
The
he
green
was
is
The
gonna.
green blast that the
Yeah.
Who's gonna
RCC
put it in
does,
there?
the email
Which is really nice of you.
website.
Yeah,
So
so
thank you for doing that, Sue.
Awesome,
Yes.
just awesome.
my pleasure.
All right.
All right. Is there anything else?
I move to adjourn.
Second. Okay, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourning the meeting at 5:07, January 9th.
Thank you, Chris.